Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 72 of Podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and SoundCloud, and topic by topic, day by day on YouTube, with the full video releasing on Friday. To catch updates about the podcast or for other news, give us a follow on your social media platform of choice, listed in the description below. I'm your host, GM, and overseer of Podcast of Five Rings, Obsidian, joined tonight by the wall that will not fall, Tetsuo.
Hey.
And the resident wildcard, Mao.
Yo.
It's the 2019 editions of us.
Is it though?
Meta is sadly sick. He's not starting off 2019 well, apparently. He's having to reboot. 2018 was too rough for the Dark Fortune Duelist. So, I just got done with 10 days off work and had to go back, and it's been miserable. How have your guys' breaks been?
I mean, I didn't get much of a break. From work, at least.
Yeah. I'm sure you got, like, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day.
Just the days. Like,
really?
I did a bunch of half days.
Okay, yeah. Gotcha.
But it all went well. I got plenty of new goodies to play with. I got and new video games that I haven't really touched.
The backlog grows.
Yep, I haven't really been doing much in like the last week or so, just kind of chilling.
Yeah.
Like so yeah, it does grow.
What about you, Tits?
Yeah, we just had, as he said, the days off, the days of off, but I took the days beforehand as well, just because going into work on a Monday, taking a Tuesday off, and then going back into work on a Wednesday just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had family over, ate lots of food.
Minimal drama, I would hope.
Minimal drama for once. Like, it was kind of surprising. I was really happy, but then again, so my kid brother has a little girl who this is her first, like, I think her first Christmas that she's really gonna remember.
Yeah,
so she was kind of the star of the show. So everybody was focused on her. So,
nice.
But yeah, we got a couple board games. My Gundam backlog has grown. That maybe not video game backlog as much, but
yeah, mine too.
Models.
Well, you guys have corrupted me into this horrible, foul, this foul hobby of building models. Because,
horrible, foul. Now, is that the right way to talk about plastic crap?
Now I have the Lancelot Conquista sitting on my shelf. And I've ordered one of the Veritech fighters from Macross Frontier that transforms between the three phases. So that'll I'd have to make sure to temper my spending on this, because I was building it. I was like, this is a lot of fun. I can see myself going way overboard with this. So
yeah,
dangerous because they can be like $25-$30 a pop.
Yeah,
or more if you want the more intricate stuff.
Well, right, but like the cheaper ones, it's really easy to justify to yourself. Oh, it's only $20, and before you know it, you spent like $80 out of your paycheck on high grade.
Oh my god, yeah. Like I might do like 2 a year or something. That's what I want to manage at right now. I have a feeling that won't hold, but that's the goal we're gonna set, because I don't have room to put them anywhere to
just buy shelving.
I know, man.
If you want a dust-free solution, I recommend the Detolf cabinets from IKEA. They're only $60, and they are amazingly nice for that price. And
link me one later.
But
other than that, I got through the main story of Dragon Quest XI. I put a lot of hours in on that game. Once you get all the party members, it really kicks up the story.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I'd stopped, I'd just gotten them all. I think I'd finished the martial arts tournament, and then from there it was I played. Some days I didn't play when I had to do stuff with family, or I hung out with some friends who were in town. few days. But the days where I played like 8 hours every day. So I got some old school, like almost Persona 5 level amount of time put in. I did what Mal recommended for the most part and plowed through a bunch. But towards the end, I spent probably a good few hours grinding, just listening to music and podcasts and stuff while I did it, because I was hunting. I was hunting metal slimes, king metal slimes in the last dungeon. So, it's really good. If I'd played it last year, it probably would have been my favorite game of the year. So,
yeah,
it's really good.
It was up there for me.
Yeah, it's it's special, man. I mean, we talked about this towards the end of last year, but I want Final Fantasy to kind of go back to like the simple gameplay. I don't think it will, but I kind of want it to go back to that simple character-driven gameplay story, like turn-based stuff.
DQ11 was just everything Dragon Quest like brought into the modern age.
Yep.
While still just being 100% Dragon Quest.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. It's so very much just like the very old games, but at the same time, it does some stuff, some new stuff. So I loved it. I enjoyed it a great deal. And now I just need to finish the post game and not like. I think I'm going to do that since you said it wasn't so long. I think I'll do that this weekend instead of putting time into Nier, and then do Nier and get Nier done by the time Kingdom Hearts comes out.
Oof. I still need to finish Birth by Sleep. I do not like the playstyle.
Yeah, it's rough, man.
I went back to get through it.
I had nostalgia goggles on because I look back on it with such fondness because I liked the story in the game. But when I went back and played it again last year at some point, it does not hold up. So, but let's get on to topics. And Mal is up first, so why don't you go on, Mal? What you got?
Well, one of the things I did since we've been away is I went to the movies. And like I said I was, to see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And I just want to talk about that.
You're a man of your word.
So much.
Well, everybody seems to love it. I haven't seen it yet.
It's got a 97 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Not bad, huh?
That 3%, get them.
It came out December 14th, and then I didn't get to see it till the next weekend because my roommate was away. It's another Spider-Man movie, which we got a lot of Spider-Man last year.
People love Spider-Man. Who knew?
We got there's Spider-Man in Infinity Wars, and then the Spider-Man game, and then there's Venom, which is tangentially related to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then this to close out the year. But this is definitely different. It's not your typical Spider-Man movie because the main character is Miles Morales, which is it's been around for a while now, actually, in the comic books.
Yeah.
He hasn't showed up in any like MCU stuff.
He's the well-known non-Peter Parker Spider-Man, basically.
Yeah, he was. It's very possible he'll show up in the MCU because in what was it, Spider-Man: Homecoming, Donald Glover's character is his uncle.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he showed up in the Ultimate Universe, which Marvel has a lot of alternate universes that often will intersect with their main one, even, and this one kind of does something similar because you get a whole bunch of different spider people from different universes.
Is that the official term, spider people?
I think there. So I know there's some spider sonas going, or as a hashtag, I believe, on Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can call them spider people if you have spider pig, though, right?
That's
Right.
true.
The spider family.
All right, so explain the concept of this, because I actually have only watched like one of the initial trailers for it.
Yeah.
I've kind of stayed away from a lot of the story.
So it's focused on Miles Morales, and he is just he's a kid going. He's attending a school for gifted and rich kids in New York, and in his world there is a Spider-Man, a Peter Parker Spider-Man, who's being a hero and all that. There's Spider-Man merchandise, comics, and all that. And that he's just kind of being a kid, and he ends up getting bitten by a spider. Not the same, a different spider, because he ends up with some slightly different powers. But I don't know how much I want. So I guess light spoilers. I don't know. It's pretty obvious, or it's pretty early. And if you know anything about his actual story from the comics, the Spider-Man of his world ends up dying, and he gets tasked with a mission, basically. And shortly after all of that goes down, he runs into Spider-Man, who's now supposed to be dead. And it turns out he's from another universe. And then shortly after that, he runs into Spider-Gwen, another spider hero. And then 3 more show up. And it's it's an origin story, but it's definitely different than what you've seen before as far as origin stories go, because of all the extra heroes.
Yeah.
It's kind of a slower burn for Miles, but it's helped by the fact that you have all these other heroes.
Who's the villain in it?
Kingpin.
Okay.
Who they actually do a really interesting job of humanizing him. In a way I don't want to spoil, but yeah, it's interesting. It's visually, it's like a comic book has just been animated.
Yeah, that's what I've seen most people.
They really wanted to
complimenting is the animation style.
They wanted to push what they could do, because you can only live action hero movies and stuff don't really get that comic book feel visually, cinematically even. And this looks like it's straight out of comic book pages.
Yeah, I would say the closest to replicating that in live action might be the Watchmen movie.
Yeah,
maybe that's just because it was so close to the graphic novel.
Right. They definitely take inspiration from past Spider-Man movies. They're when they're going over the Peter Parker's backstory, there's some shots that closely mirror the Raimi Spider-Man.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they it's definitely not that Spider-Man, but
yeah,
because he still uses web slingers and stuff. But yeah, they definitely took inspiration from previous Spider-Man movies for their Peter Parker, and they're very self-aware of Spider-Man in current pop culture. Just from some of the things in the movie, this movie doesn't really have. It doesn't. You wouldn't have thought it would have been as great as it was. It's because this is, as I said in Discord before, it's the same studio that did the Emoji Movie.
The same branch of Sony or Sony or whatever.
Yeah, they could have easily have just churned out another Spider-Man movie that people would have gone and seen, and they would have made money because it's Spider-Man. If it was,
it was big enough for a theatrical release. When they first announced it, I thought it was a straight to DVD kind of thing.
Yeah, and the budget was $90 million, and they made so far $2.27 million. Or $227 million at that point. So they definitely made their money back. And they've already announced 2 more movies. A direct sequel and a spin-off.
Gotcha. Probably one of the other Spider heroes.
I believe the spin-off is going to be Spider-Gwen and then some other Spider-Woman and Silk. Which a few years ago they did a crossover with those characters, so it might be similar to that storyline. But
I heard the music was good in the movie too.
Yeah,
The
it's
soundtrack.
I've been listening to it pretty nonstop. It's all hip hop and stuff, but it's very like it's the you get the like well in some cases literally it's what Miles is listening to. And honestly, the way they incorporate the music with the movie is like it's so well done. Like the character themes are real great, and like they'll switch up as far as the score is concerned. Even like when Spider-Gwen shows up for the first time, it switches to more of a rock aesthetic because she's in a rock band and stuff like that. It's just, and then there's one villain who's I think for a PG movie, he comes across as really like menacing, and half of that's probably just because of his theme is just so good.
Yeah.
And it's a PG movie, but it can be surprisingly like dark at times. Like some of the moments, it's kind of holds like more weight than Homecoming in some ways, even though Homecoming was a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
Also, one of the pluses of this movie is that they, compared to the MCU, is they're not afraid, I guess, to like let emotional moments just kind of hang there, instead of like MCU has the tendencies to immediately undercut like emotional moments with a joke,
which can get it can wear thin sometimes.
Yeah. This one is definitely ends up being a lot more emotional, I think.
Yeah.
It's just so good. Like there was just a lot of love in this movie, I think. I know like it's produced by, and then half of them wrote it, is Philip Lord and Christopher Miller, who did 21 Jump Street and the Lego Movie.
I love both those things.
Yeah, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Yeah, it's real good. The writing's really impressive, and at least the three main Spider people or whatever, Miles, Peter Parker, and Spider-Gwen are really well characterized. The other three, because you end up with Spider-Noir, who is from a monochromatic universe, and he's based in the 1930s, voiced by Nicolas Cage.
Really?
Yeah, it's he's played up a lot more campy than in the comics, because in the comics he would just probably shoot Kingpin in the face, because he actually he has a revolver and is not afraid to shoot people, unlike every other Spider hero. But he's kind of more campy in this one. And they have Penny Parker and her mech Spider, which is SP//DR. She comes from a futuristic New York, and she has a telepathic link with the spider that lives inside the robot. And then there's Spider Ham,
the pig.
Yep, he was originally a spider bitten by a radioactive pig.
Okay.
Yep.
I do nothing about the character other than that he was a pig. So
yeah, it was like 80s joke character.
I don't know. Really, 80s?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. So those three don't get like there's quite a lot of characters for the movie. And they didn't have the luxury of like the MCU type ones that they all had their own standalone movie to build them up.
Yeah, so it's surprising that it works so well. Probably they can just mash all these characters, and you kind of like have to know a little bit about them. It's probably more a movie for the fans, but
they do a really good job of telling you who they are.
Yeah,
in a very cute way.
It would have to.
Yeah.
For people who don't know who they are, because if it's PG and it's animated, then it's theoretically marketed more towards a younger audience who might not know all like the Spider-Man lore of all the multiple Spider personas and stuff. So I mean, for it to be such a success, it has. That's like one thing it would have to do.
Yeah, I was going into it definitely biased because I love the Spider-Verse storylines in the comics. But it's definitely my favorite Spider-Man movie.
Oh wow!
And I've seen a lot of people say that it beat like the Raimi movies for him and Homecoming.
Well, I love Spider-Man, so I'm gonna have to. Yeah. I might wait till it goes to the cheap theater and watch it.
Man, the visual aesthetics, especially the climax, are just so good. I kind of want this is kind of one of the movies that would be really good to see in 3D also. Like it's kind of insane seeing it in 3D. I've heard because my theater has not got 3D that I go to, but I have seen it twice.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I decided. I just loved it. So I went like last week again. Yeah, it just everything about the movie is done so well, and just it all works together amazingly, and ends on a really cool message.
Does it have a post-credit scene?
Yes, and it's great. It's memey and sets up the next movie, and it's amazing as far as post-credit scenes go.
Oh man. So if you had seen it, would it have been your favorite movie of last year?
I mean, I did see it last year.
I'm saying before. Was that on? Was that your top movie of last year? In the I can't remember if you saw it before.
Oh no, I didn't get to see it. No, I though I did mention it might be my favorite, and I when we were tying up, but I think it is my favorite. It was so fun.
Yeah,
and it's just all done so well, and because I'm big into visuals and audio, like when it can like really just jump out like that, it's kind of like it all kind of ties together along the same lines as Persona 5, honestly. Like stylistically, it's so on point. Like there's no
everything just complements each other,
right? Oh, and like every character, like the characters from their own dimensions have and when it shows their own dimensions, has its own animation style. Like Penny Parker with her robot, she looks like she's more done in an anime style, and Spider-Ham looks like he's a cartoon character, like a typical like hand-drawn 2D cartoon character.
Yeah.
And then Noir looks like, he's from a black and white type universe. And they really just kind of knocked it out of the park.
Well, that's good. I may go see that this weekend then, if I'm free. Maybe during the day I could catch it on the matinee price or something.
Yeah.
If it's not it's been out for 3 weeks now, or
since
2?
The 14th.
Okay.
United States total.
I don't think it's quite in cheap theaters yet.
Yeah. It hasn't. It's not. It's still in my local, the one right next to where I live. But yeah, I loved it. It was so good.
It'll have to do you through. It'll have to do you through till Captain Marvel.
Probably, yeah. Miles is he's an interesting character. Like, he's not just a clone of Peter Parker. He has his own family that he loves. Like, he doesn't have at least initially at the start of the movie, there's no like tragic backstory.
Yeah. It's just that I guess Peter dies in his universe, but he doesn't really have a connection to Peter.
Right.
Before that, if I remember correctly. But
I mean, yeah, and it got me to like the most emotional show, I guess, out of like when I see movies is like I'll tear up. Like, it's just because I don't show emotions typically anyway. But It got me to tear up twice.
Oh, there you go.
2 different parts, which Infinity War didn't get me to do.
No, I didn't during that. I don't think I've teared up during any of the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're not really supposed to make you do that, obviously.
Right.
So
I mean, yeah, the ending of Infinity War was probably, like, close, but still. It didn't quite get me there.
yeah. We'll have to see if the next one will. If they actually die.
Yeah.
And how. Alright. Tets.
Yes.
It's your turn.
Okay.
That was unceremonious
Yeah.
transfer of power to you, but the power is yours and the floor.
I need no ceremony. That's what crab are for, right? No
Oh
ceremony.
yeah.
No. So I was going to talk about because I kind of made a promise in the new Hobby Corner series that we've been doing that I would talk about Gaslands, the tabletop war game. I guess it technically is a war game. I'm going to caveat this with I still have not played a game yet.
You can still introduce it though.
Well, right, yeah, I was gonna say this is with the caveat of having not played it yet. But I love the idea of this game. This game is essentially X-Wing, the miniatures game, meets Mad Max.
Which sounds awesome.
Yep. It and what I mean by that is in the sense that X-Wing. So yeah, we'll start there. In the way that X-Wing handles a lot of its mechanics with like the what do you call those templates? There you go.
Yeah.
You choose your templates, you move, you roll dice to see if you attack or whatever, or if you hit things and blah blah blah. So this is similar in that regard, but because it's Mad Max themed, it's actually, or I guess Death Race is another one that you could say it's themed around. Just that kind of post-apocalyptic demolition derby aesthetic. The main mode of the game is called Death Race. You are trying to race through all of the checkpoints, have one of your cars make it through first without the opponents destroying you before you do so. Is literally the point of the main game.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really cool about it, to me at least, as a modeler, is that it has no miniatures of its own. You instead are encouraged to custom make your models from Hot Wheels cars or Matchbox cars, or
Basically any 1/64th scale.
Yeah, the $1.50 car that you get from Target, or whatever. Which is a really low barrier of entry, which is one of the other reasons why I really like it. Because you could just go grab a bunch and play. You could hit a bunch with a hammer, and now they kind of look. Yeah, it's essentially the main game type is Death Race. Did I go over that? Yeah. So the game mode is essentially you have checkpoints that you set up, and you're trying to go through them all and get to the end of the race before everybody else does. You also have weapons that you can shoot at each other. Kind of, as you would think for, Death Race or Mad Max or whatever. What I think is kind of interesting is it does have, like, specific weapons to a degree, but they kind of don't care how you, express that on the model, right? What you see is what you get is way less, in this game. Partially, again, too, right? Because you can just go pick up some Hot Wheels and play. You don't have to customize anything, so they don't care as much about that. They have a few different sponsors.
That's a faction.
Yeah, that's their factions. Is that they call them sponsors. Kind of the fluff of the game is that the elite now live on Mars, and Earth has kind of become this like the ghettos. It's almost like a planet-wide ghettos type deal, and popular television show on Mars is the Death Race, and so everybody, if you can win a series of death races, you get to go to Mars, and like that's legitimately the story to the game. But so you have these different sponsors that sponsor people for the death race, and based off of who your sponsors are, there's certain equipment or certain abilities you have access to that other people don't. For example, one of them, Rutherford, allows you to use tanks and military helicopters and military grade hardware, but you're not going to get like some of the abilities for that are based around speed or aggressive driving, just because you have access to these other vehicles. Another one, I'm blanking on its name now, has like prototypical Tesla weapons that you can use, which I thought was really interesting. But so that's kind of how it handles armies, I guess, and for a corollary to other war games. But again, like you could have multiple people playing against each other that are sponsored by the same sponsors.
Is there like a typical size for like your squad team or whatever? Like how many vehicles?
They call it cans is the point value that you use. Usually most games are 40 to 60 cans to build your cars on, which usually equates to 2 to 3 cars. But again, it's kind of like war games where, right, like if you could spend all of them in one massive vehicle if you wanted. They call them war rigs. You deck out a semi truck or like a massive RV or a bus. You can sink all your points into this one massive thing that's going to soak a ton of damage. Or you could get 3 or 4 fast little buggies, but you're going to run the risk of wipeouts and slides and hazards, all that kind of stuff. Which gets me to the how it handles the main mechanic of the game, which is driving. One of the things that I really thought was interesting and I really liked, it does not allow you to pick up a template and kind of play around with ideas before you put a template down to move. If you grab a template, touch it at all, that's the one you have to use for your movement. And the idea is, like, you're driving a car, right? Like, you only have a split second to make a decision, and that's what's happening to you. So that's kind of one of their ways to try to preserve that high speed feeling, of what's going on. But essentially what you'll do is, so they have, each round is split up into gears. Vehicles will start in different gears, and different types of chassis can have access to a maximum number of gears. Faster cars that have higher gears have the ability to act more times. So in gear 1, everybody who's in first gear and higher acts. Second gear, everybody who's in second gear and higher can act. So if you're in gear 6, you're going to get 6 actions with that car over the course of the turn. Is kind of how they handle that. And there's always an option with the dice results to be able to shift up or shift down throughout your gears, because the faster you get, the more limited you are in what templates you can choose. And so in gear 6, you only have access to 2 templates, I believe, and both of them carry a good chance of you spinning out, sliding, just having general bad stuff happen to you, essentially.
Yeah.
Everything's resolved with D6s, special D6s, of course. That they call them. I think they just call it your handling dice. So whatever your handling skill is, you roll that many dice. And you will get shift. Is one of the results, which you can either use to shift up or shift down, or to cancel out other results. So I think shift is on 2 or 3 sides of the dice. And then you have hazards, slides, and what is the other one? I forget what the other one is. But essentially, if you end up not canceling out a hazard, it's going to go on your sheet, essentially. And if you get 6 hazards, you have to make a wipeout test, which can cause you to slide out of control, spin, that's the other one, cause you to spin out, all that kind of stuff. And if you ever hit a car or hit any of the obstacles, they have a pretty good collision rules. So depending on how you hit them, what angle you hit them at, what's your velocity based off, what direction were you going in based off of what angle your car is at and all that kind of stuff, which I thought was really kind of cool. But it's still fast. It's not like number crunchy. It's not like BattleTech where you're constantly referencing tables.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, all right, just this is what you roll, this is what you get. Boom, you're done. Like,
Have you watched any games like on YouTube or anything?
I have actually, and there's
How
actually
long do they
Go ahead.
typically take? Do you think? How long is a game typically?
Most of the ones I saw were done in 30 to 45 minutes. And that's usually with them cross-referencing rules, and I'm not sure how this happens. Let's check, and that kind of learning rules, right? So I'd say.
Oh,
There
you just
are.
cut out
You
there.
just came back in.
I was just saying that based off of what I was seeing, I think a good rule of thumb, if you know the rules, is probably about 30 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
It might push
Pretty
longer,
standard.
but yeah. And
That's
because
good.
like every single death race I saw, I don't think I ever saw one where somebody crosses the finish line. Every single time, everybody shoots everybody, and like a lot of times, it's two last cars that are both like charging at each other, and like it ends in a tie. Like the vast majority of the stuff I watched ended in ties, or like a car was going through the finish line and rolled badly, and so spun out of control and ends up hitting the side of the checkpoint and explodes there at the finish line. Right, like. So it's kind of that carnage, that twisted metal type aspect to it, which was kind of cool. One of the things that kind of has me excited to try the game out. But yeah, it's not too terribly long. I'm sure you could make it longer, like with higher gas cans amounts, or
and there's also like that's not the only mode, right? I know at
Correct.
least I saw at least one of the like the free downloads they had was like a Truckosaurus scenario.
Yes. So the Truckosaurus, if I remember correctly, is the essentially using the war rigs. Like one of the alternates for war rigs can be monster trucks, and so one guy is driving a monster truck and he's just out to destroy everybody, and then all of the other players are trying to work together to destroy this Truckosaurus. So it's more demolition derby than race.
Yeah.
So there's no like checkpoints.
Like standard tabletop war game stuff,
Right.
basically.
Yeah, and one of the other basic modes is just straight up.
Yeah.
But
Derby.
I think it's that one, or maybe it's Death Race. One of the two. They actually have turrets that are set up on the course, and so sometimes you have to focus on taking out turrets as opposed to taking out your opponents. But if you're shooting at turrets, you're not shooting at your opponent, right?
Yep.
So, but yeah, it was interesting. It's expensive to get into compared to a lot of other war games. The rule book at full price, I think, is $50 for a download. You're not paying $60 for rule books. You don't need a separate book for every army. It's a one and done deal. Yeah, it's and a lot of the stuff they have for free for download. And as far as like your vehicle character sheets and your even the templates, they have them all online, so you can just print them up on paper and cut them out. Or you can go to their store and buy like acrylic made ones or whatever. But
and on their website they have links to like Etsy stores and other partners of
Probably get like card
their own
versions of them.
terrain, custom cars, templates.
Yeah. The
if you don't want to, do the custom modeling yourself or whatever.
Yeah. Some people make like pieces to glue onto the models, like different like little guns or turrets, even like people that you can glue into the driver's seat and stuff like that. That way you don't have to like model them yourself.
Yeah. So what's kept you from playing so far? Just not finding someone to play with?
Not even that. It's not having time to get with the guy that wants to play it with me.
Gotcha.
Like, so we both have Tabletop Simulator, and Tabletop Simulator actually has this game already preloaded. Like you can download it as one of the options. So we even had set out time to do that, and then something had happened and we couldn't play. Like it's literally, I just haven't had a chance.
Yeah.
So, but I'm excited to. It's kind of one of those. It is very niche, but it's I don't know. It looks like a lot of fun. It looks really entertaining.
The coolest thing to me about it is just the custom car making aspect of it, probably.
Yeah.
I'll admit that was the biggest draw for me. Like when I saw it online, I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool. I wonder what the models are." And then when I saw that it was make your own models, I was like, "I am all over this. Yes, let me go buy some Hot Wheels from the store since they're only $1 in practice."
Yeah.
So
I've definitely been looking through Hot Wheel models to see like which specific models I might want to try and model or customize.
I need to get some. I want to get some trucks next and do some trucks because I've only done cars so far. But like that, and that's one of the things. Like they have different chassis bases, and even if your model is like a car, you could argue that it's a buggy chassis because they gutted out a bunch of stuff or something like that.
Yeah.
And so there's different small stat changes based off of the chassis type you use. So like both of my cars, I think, technically fall under like sports car or whatever. But I want to play with some others.
Just look for random games on Tabletop Sim. Do they have a Reddit for Tabletop Sim?
Probably.
I don't know how you matchmake on it because I've never messed around with it.
You can either create one and just kind of leave an open lobby, and then let random people join, or you can create one with the password and just give out the password, or you can create it hidden so they have to have the password even just to see it.
Got it.
But then even through Steam, like you know how you can go to your friends list, right click on the friend and invite to game.
Yeah.
You can just do it that way too, and it'll automatically invite them to whatever game you're doing.
Okay.
I think did we do an episode on?
We did.
Okay,
I think it was your topic.
It probably was.
It was sometime last year. It was probably around summertime, I think. But all right, let's. I guess we'll get on to my topic. As I normally do, pre-GDQ. I want to talk about GDQ because it starts on Sunday or yesterday if you're listening to this on Monday, or the previous Sunday if you're listening to it on the Wednesday that this comes out on YouTube. For those who don't know, GDQ is the biggest speedrunning event in the world. They have two events, AGDQ in the winter and SGDQ in the summer. This is AGDQ. They raise money for Prevent Cancer Foundation during AGDQ. So that's what they're doing. I usually talk about and ask you guys what games you're going to watch, if any, and what you're excited to see. So I'm just looking over the schedule. I actually like it a lot. There's a lot of RPGs and longer speedruns on here. They've kind of in the past, they feel like they are able to raise more money, at least according to what people have said, with shorter games, just because there's more variety, keeps people interested and stuff. They usually put the longer games on overnight kind of stuff, but they don't often do a lot of them, other than like your big like Final Fantasy on the last day or something like that. But we got a lot of long games this year. And I kind of like the older ones. It harkens back to the old GDQ days, which I'm quite fond of. So, they're starting out with Hollow Knight, which is a cool speed run.
Yeah, that one will be pretty cool to watch.
Majora's Mask is always some people's favorite. It's in the past been done a lot on the 3DS, the 3 version. This is the Wii Virtual Console version for any percent. So I know that's a lot of people's favorite Zelda game. Those are probably the two I'm most excited for on the first day. Shadow of the Colossus should be pretty cool too.
Boss Rush.
Yeah. I've never actually seen a God of War speedrun. God of War 2 is after that. It'll probably be too
I'm
late for me to
interested on
stand
that
up. The next day, let's see. There's a Monster World. I thought that was Monster Hunter for a second.
Nope. There's a Splatoon 2 Octo expansion one on the second day.
Oh,
Which
yeah, that'll be good.
I will like to watch.
Looks like Castlevania block is on the second day. Soten is up first. Aria of Sorrow is one of my favorite speedruns for Castlevania. Castlevania 2 is on there. Even Bloodstained Curse of the Moon is going to be on there.
Yeah.
Which I have not seen a speedrun of. I'm excited for that. A lot of people were probably excited for Jax and Crash Bandicoot too. Like
I was gonna say I'm interested in the Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, the heyday for PS2 platforming. Also, Tropical Freeze is a really good speedrun. That's before that. Any percent. This looks like a three-way race to me. I don't imagine that they'd be switching off in this game. It's any percent no death abuse. That's the Switch version, which I think is the first time it will be at a G here.
They got a Near Automata.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At 3:40 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
So.
They ran this a few years ago. It was the opening, and this must be a different category because I don't remember that one being 4 hours long, 4.5 hours long estimate.
Yeah, it may have just
2.
been like through the. It might just have been the first character's story or something.
Yeah.
This one is the true ending, they call it. It's the final chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you think about the different endings as chapters, E is the final one you got to get through.
It looks like the Sonic block is that day.
What is Sonic Ball?
I think that's a meme game.
That's
I'm not
gotta be.
sure. It's got to be a meme game. It looks like they got more 3D Sonics in.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's a meme game.
I Googled it.
It's probably going to get a lot of money. The meme games usually do. Looks like it's some kind of racing game, I'm guessing, based on all laps category. So yeah, that's happening. We got a small Mario block, Mario Kart 64, Super Mario Bros. 3 mix. That must be a ROM hack. And Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars after that, which is one of those longer games. In the past, it's actually closed out at least one marathon. It's usually a final day game. Any percent. Good to see that back. It's a pretty cool, interesting speed run. It's interesting because a lot of it's based on making sure you get the correct timings down. It's not just like menuing and movement. There's some actual technical stuff to it. For no one who's seen Tony Hawk runs, those are actually kind of crazy.
Oh, yeah?
The next day after that, it's graveyard, 4 a.m., but you can always catch like VODs later. Tony Hawk Pro Skater runs are really good. Actually, they're really quick paced.
I would expect them. They'd have to be pretty technical.
Yeah. I always like the Halo runs. Halo reaches that day. I don't think I've ever seen that game being sped run before. Twilight Princess All Dungeons. I love watching
That's
Twilight
a long
Princess
one.
runs. Yeah, 4 hours.
Which in the middle of the day too, like 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
In the afternoon. That's pretty impressive, I guess.
Leading into the Mega Man block, which starts off strong with the Mega Man X 1 through 3 3-team relay race.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, that I'm interested in, definitely.
Yeah, that's gonna raise a lot of money. I believe they did a Mega Man relay race in the past through a few of the classic games, the NES ones, but I don't think they've done an X race like that before. So that's awesome.
I love any of the interesting runs like that, like team based or competition style runs. Those are always my favorites.
Yeah, those are fun. Mega Man DOS. I don't know. I didn't know there was a DOS version of Mega Man.
Well, I mean, must have been Probably.
Oh my god, this looks awful. It's got characters I've never heard of.
Wow, it's a real game.
Yeah, okay. I want to watch that, but it's at 12:30.
It's got people in it. It looks like.
Oh my god, they got some
Like
funny
live
meme
action?
games. Oh my gosh. Looks like we got a small Metal Gear block the next day. I'm not big into Metal Gear speedrunnings or speedruns.
Can't say I've ever watched one. There's gonna be a Dead Cells speedrun on Thursday.
Uh-huh.
It's got 3 people listed. I'm curious why.
Huh.
Like,
Let's see.
maybe it's a stretch goal.
Yeah, I don't know. This looks like a lot of indie. This might be the indie block day.
Yeah, Crypt of the Nectar Dancer is really good.
The Messenger. I think Chex Quest is an indie game.
Celeste.
Looks like we got the Bethesda block too.
Oh yeah.
2 Doom games. Prey. Prey was Bethesda,
Prey's-
right?
Oh.
Dishonored.
No.
Oh, it's the new DLC. I was like, that's a long time for Prey. I've seen
Yeah,
much shorter time.
considering the speedrun was like 12 minutes.
But it's the new DLC speedrun, I guess.
We also get...
Prey is Bethesda publisher, not developer.
Gotcha.
Same as Dishonored.
Then late that night is Wind Waker HD 100%. They're doing a lot of 3D Zeldas. So we get the Majora's Mask, Wind Waker HD, and Twilight Princess. Wind Waker HD is a really fun run to watch too. I considered at one point learning that game, but it's got hard tricks I don't want to learn how to do. Right at the beginning of the game, there's something called like backward super swimming or something like that. You don't use the boat in the game. You glitch yourself, and you have to do a series of like frame perfect inputs for like I think 3 minutes straight, and it just shoots you across the sea, lets you skip a bunch of stuff. You can pause buffer it and do it pretty reliably, which is I'm sure what they'll do, but still.
Yeah.
Next day, Divinity Original Sin 2.
Yeah, it's only 27 minutes.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Those computer games, they usually tear through.
Right.
A lot of those CRPG. Did you see the, a few years ago, they had one of the Baldur's Gate games. It was pretty ridiculous what they did
No,
in that
I
game.
didn't see that one.
Pokemon Gold race is going to be good. It's going to come down to who hits Manips, but those races are always good.
The next one, Final Fantasy IV, it's a League match flags.
Yeah, I don't know what this category is.
Yeah. I don't know what Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise is.
It's a...
It's a ROM
it's
hack.
a ROM hack, according to Kotaku. It turns the game to an open-world RPG. Okay, I want to watch this because I don't... I'm interested in this now. Like, the concept of making that a open-world game
Right.
is crazy. Then we get the task block, which people love, just because it does dumb
It just
stuff
shows
to the
off
games.
crazy stuff.
Super Mario Sunshine is a beloved speedrun game. It looks like we're having a 1v1 lockout bingo race. They've been doing a lot more... I think they did bingo and SGDQ, but it wasn't a race, if I remember correctly.
Which one is the bingo?
Super Mario Sunshine.
Or no, sorry, I mean, what is that?
Okay, so lockout bingo 1v1. Basically, they get a bingo card. Everyone sees the same one. They see it at the same exact time. They don't know what's on it ahead of time.
Oh, okay.
And they basically have to get a bingo by doing certain objectives. And when you lock out, if you get the square, then you cut it off from your opponent. So a lot of the strategies, like going after like what bingos easily, what's like easiest to do, that kind of stuff. Then after that, the run I'm hot for, and thank God it's on Friday night, Final Fantasy 9 80%, PSX version, not the PS or the PC release with the mods. It's like I think like 3 hours faster. 9.5 hour estimate. This game hasn't been done since I think 2013 or 2014. And they got 3 people doing it, so one will do like one disc. They're splitting it into thirds essentially. So It's actually a pretty good speed run. It's just really long. Puyo Puyo Tetris. People love Tetris speedruns too. I'm curious how Puyo Puyo will work.
They usually have like a Tetris like match like between a bunch of people, but it doesn't look like they're doing that in this one.
No. A Link to the Past is always a big one. I'm surprised they're not doing this as a race category. It's low percent one-hit kill, but maybe it's because it's one-hit kill. They usually do Link to the Past races. Like they had the randomizer, I think at last AGDQ was really popular. It's in the same vein as like bingo races. They're like stepping outside of the more traditional categories like any percent or all boss percents or 100%, that kind of stuff. I like that. I do too. It's more variety. It's not just seeing this. If you're going to have the same games every year, you kind of like at some point have to mix it up somehow. Yeah, and that's a good way to do it. Like you were saying, Dark Souls 3 all bosses. I think this was in SGDQ 2017.
That one is a lot more of a specific time. It goes down to the 30 seconds, whereas all the others is...
Yeah, that's weird. I bet
1 hour, 57
I bet that's a typo. I bet that's like the guy's like PV or something.
Maybe.
But I love Soulsborne speedruns, especially all boss categories, like the best ones in my opinion. Because you don't just watch them run through the levels, you actually get to see them do more fights.
Yeah.
Some games I don't know, Quickie World and Super Gracie World. These must be pretty cool speedruns to be on the last day, right before prime time.
Super Gracie World at least is a Mario hack, so
okay, well that explains it.
They're probably both Mario ROM hacks.
Yeah,
it goes into Mario Odyssey.
Yep. Then you got Super Mario Odyssey, which is a really popular speed game. This is one of the longer categories for it, Darker Side, where I think it's like the closest to 100% without being get all 900 something moons, which is ridiculous.
Goodness, right.
It's basically like the actual closest to 100% that people will actually run, and because you do all the post game stuff, and Super Metroid Reverse Boss Order to finish off the marathon. Was it last SGDQ or AGDQ where there actually was no Super Metroid, which had never happened before?
I feel like it was at least 2 of them ago.
Yeah. Which is Save versus Kill the Animals is always a big donation bid war.
Yeah, they tried something different.
Yeah. And
which is fair.
I don't think they've ever ended with Super Metroid either. If they did, it's been the old days, and I don't think they've ever done Reverse Boss Order either. I could be wrong there too, though. But pretty traditional ending. A really big Super Mario game, 3D Mario game. They often do one of those, like 64 or something. I think they had Odyssey last one too as a bonus incentive, and this isn't still all the bonus incentives. We could still get some other cool games in. So I forgot a lot of what was on here until earlier, and I'm really excited to to watch it.
Seems like it'll be a cool run.
I love watching it every year. I usually keep it on background at work and try to catch what little bits I can whenever I'm not busy. So I look forward to it every year. This one looks to be pretty good. I'm glad to see some of the longer games get some love again. I think this is probably the lowest amount of games they've had in a while per different title, just because of the length of some of these. I don't think they've had a 9.5 hour run in at least 3 years.
That'll be something.
Now they just need to bring Final Fantasy VIII back. I think it hasn't been in one since SGDQ 2012. It was like the second GDQ. So really excited. Lots of good stuff on here, and that'll be a majority of my week next week. So check it out if you've never watched it. It's always fun, especially if you're new to GDQs. It's great, or speedrunning in general. It's crazy to see what people can do with some of these games, especially just the ones that are just so broken that you can just do crazy stuff with glitches. Those are always really fun too. Yep. All right. This has been episode 72 of Podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment on video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and SoundCloud, and topic by topic, day by day on YouTube, with the full video releasing on Friday. Check us out on Twitter, Podcast5R, Facebook, P5R Podcast, Meta and Lily stream at twitch.tv/PSOFlow. They still playing World of Final Fantasy? I'm sure they've been off a little bit.
Yeah, I think they've been off since like Christmas, basically.
I need to get that too. That's like one that's been on the very bottom of my backlog that I just haven't even bought yet. I've been kind of waiting for like till I catch it on sale. I caught it like a few times, but just haven't pulled the trigger. But I do want to eventually play that because I haven't watched any of it, and I'm kind of a sucker for some fan servicey kind of games like that.
Yeah,
but
it's real cute.
Yeah. Well, all right, let's get out of here, and I guess we'll see you guys next week. Until then,
later.
Bye.
Bye.